Hello, thanks for joining me. Now, I'm kind of experimenting with the formats of this video, so I hope it's not distracting to you, but I've put sort of in the background my slides with me just talking down in this little corner. As you probably noticed, or if you haven't, what I'm doing is I'm doing a sneak peek into my current project, which is all about money and how money influences us both negatively and positively, and how we as individuals can kind of turn the tide on all that negative influence. So, I've talked about a number of different things, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about last time specifically, I covered what money is. Money's a bright idea. It's a social construct, a, a social technology to facilitate human beings, people, doing productive, constructive things for each other. Now, we use that money to help facilitate that process. But what I wanted specifically to talk about today, now, here, is this idea that we human beings always order in a hierarchy. Now, that hierarchy, the implications for how we use money apply to this ordering of a hierarchy. So, in simple terms, are we like chickens? Why do we always order in a hierarchy? Now, if you look through history, now there's some reasons to this, and I'll get into in a future video the specific reasons for about human nature and why we do what we do. But I specifically want your input or your thoughts on us organizing in a hierarchy. So are we just like chickens? So specifically, in this case, there are some egalitarian societies in smaller societies, smaller social orders. You have the families, of course. Then you have what you might call tribes or small communities of a few hundred people, often are more egalitarian than larger societies. However, as societies grow, we typically order in a hierarchy. And we'll talk about that in another video. But specifically, here we might have an egalitarian society. So everyone understands and respects everyone else. We're not equal in that we are alike, except that we're all human beings, but everyone has different gifts, talents, and abilities, and everyone contributes their gifts, talents, and abilities and makes the entire community better. So this would be an egalitarian society. However, if you look across world history, what always happens in egalitarian society is a hierarchical society comes and conquers that egalitarian society. But why is it that we order in a hierarchical manner? Now you can see this. We do this now, where it's ongoing now. We have the celebrity worship where people look at and they elevate these people to the top of the heap and then they worship them. This is happening all over the country, all over the world. Why do we have this need to elevate these celebrities and then worship them? It is amazing to me that this happens, but seems to be inherent in human nature that we do this. Now, there are, I say, three reasons for us organizing in a hierarchy. The first reason is fear. Fear is a major motivator. It causes us to do all kinds of things that may not be in our long-term best interest, but in the short term, it causes us to take action. And so we will automatically come together when we face fear. So we will group and look for other supporting elements so that we can stand together. So when we have a threat, we draw together and then we order based on a capability to address that threat. So that's one way that we order in a hierarchy. A second way to order in a hierarchy, or reason for our ordering in a hierarchy, is that we want to ultimately seize or take something. So we will come together so that we can concentrate more power. And this is ultimately what we're talking about here. By coming together in the form of a hierarchy, we concentrate power. And when we concentrate that power, we can then apply it against another social group, and we can take whatever it is we want. If you look through human history, it is a series of people coming together, concentrating power, attacking, fighting someone else, and ultimately conquering them. So we concentrate power because we're afraid in dealing with a threat. or we concentrate power because we want to take something. Now, there is a third reason that we concentrate power. That third reason that we always end up in this type of hierarchy with the masses carrying most of the weight, doing most of the work, serving the few at the top. We empower the few at the top. Why do we always do this? Why do we repeatedly, deliberately do this? We're in this kind of hierarchy right now in the United States and all over the world. We continually do this to ourselves and we deliberately do it. Do we consciously do it or are we deceived into doing it? That's a question for you to give me your thoughts on this. But going back to our third reason for coming together in a hierarchy, it is to concentrate power to do something constructive and productive. That is the what is it? The sum of the parts is greater than the individual pieces. So when we come together, we have more ability to accomplish a bigger task, if you will, collectively than we would alone. So we can respond by coming together, and then we fall into a hierarchy because that seems to be our natural order if we're afraid. And unfortunately, that is used quite often to get people to fall in line. Fear is the number one driver in our media, in our economic sphere. We just want people always to be afraid so that then I can provide the solution. I can rise to the top, get the power, and then control the masses. So it's used, and it's a very effective tactic. It is used all the time. The second is that we decide collectively we're going to get together so we can take something. I don't think this is a productive use of our concentration of power, but if you look through history, it's been done repeatedly again and again and again. And the third is that we draw together, we recognize the various talents, skills, and abilities that different people have. We optimize and leverage those skills so that we can collectively accomplish something that is more powerful. So I just look at it this way. We often talk about a meritocracy. There is no pure social order. There is no meritocracy that is pure. But the idea is that people will come together in an egalitarian way, and the people who produce the most, generate the most, present the most value to the community will rise to the top or receive the benefits of their gifts and talents that they are sharing with the community. It's a meritocracy. It's an ideal. It's something we talk about, but we're not really serious in making practice. What typically happens is we have what in my slides here is the middle diagram, which we have the masses at the bottom, and then we have the middle class, which is generally relatively small, that then manage the masses at the bottom, and then we have the ruling elite. This is the typical social order in human society. Not that we don't prefer egalitarian, but unfortunately, this concentration of power always overrides the egalitarian model. And then my third little element in my slide here is that we have the distribution of wealth and power is the reverse of the pyramid. In other words, we have the masses as far as power goes. The masses are at the bottom, but the wealth and the power all flows to the top. Why do we continually do this? If you look at human history, we do this over and over and over again. The United States was supposed to be a break from that model. And with our gifts of land and this opportunity of a continent that the Americans settled, if you will, and you can argue about all of that, but the bottom line is we are where we are. The question is, why do we keep falling back into this social order that ultimately ends in massive destruction? I'm going to get into that in a future video. So I know you're saying, how does this all relate to money? It relates to money because money has become a substitute for the need to employ violence to get what we want. Money is that substitute that is now in lieu of violence. So we're using money to control people. Remember, if you watched that last video I was talking about, was that human beings, what people do is what drives the train. It's all about what human beings do. But how can I control what human beings do? I can control them through manipulation, force or violence, which is a very popular method of control. Or if we're more civilized than that, we don't need to use force and violence, but instead we're going to use the other tools in our kit bag. The most valuable of those is money. And I'm going to talk to that in a future video. So please, by all means, give me some feedback. Let me hear your thoughts on where this is going and some of the ideas that I have posed. I'll tell you that this is all going to come together, but right now I'm in the evolutionary stage and I want to hear your feedback, your thoughts about some of these issues. So again, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.